Good evening and welcome to Beaches Watch community meeting. I'm Maria Mark. I'm president of Beaches Watch and hosting the meeting tonight. Before we introduce our esteemed guests, our school board representative Elizabeth Andersen and Superintendent Dr. Diana Greene, I just have a few announcements to make. So our meetings are videoed as always. Tomorrow you can tune in to our YouTube channel at Beaches Watch 2012. We are always taking in our memberships, so it's time to renew or join for 2022. It's $15 for individual, $20 for family, and $5 for students. It's a yearly membership. They're valid January through December, and you can renew or join or make a donation online at our website, beacheswatch.com. Right now, I'd like to recognize our elected officials and some of our other distinguished guests tonight. We have a number of people to recognize. We have Principal Dean Ledford from Fletcher High School. We have Ellen Glasser, Atlantic Beach Mayor. We have Principal Kim Gallagher from Atlantic Beach Elementary. We have Carrie Chen, who's our Neptune Beach City Council. Sandy Goldie, who is our Jacksonville Beach City Council. Let's see, recognize Jill Sullivan is on. Kevin Hogenkamp, who's the assistant city manager for Atlantic Beach. Let's see, who else do we have at this point? Looks like that's all we have for now. We may have some other, just tuning in a little bit later. So, but thank you all for joining us. Let's see. So the Florida 2022 legislative session has started. It began January 11th and will run through March 11th. So it is winding up as we speak. Next month, April, we will have a legislative update. Our city managers from each of the beaches cities will be giving that update. Atlantic Beach will be honoring our Dutton Island 5. This will be on Friday, March 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the Dutton Island Preserve. Jacksonville Beach Urban Trails Master Plan meeting will be held, this is meeting number 6, will be held March 9th. And these meetings are all via Zoom from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And Jacksonville Beach will be determining the charter changes that will be on the November 2022 ballot. This will be held on Monday, March 7th, and which is next Monday, and this will be in Jacksonville Beach Council chambers. Let's see, I'm sorry, I'm also checking my chat here. Just to see if there's anything else I might be missing. Okay. Neptune Beach Stormwater Strategic Planning meeting will be held Wednesday, March 30th from 5 to 7 p.m. That will be in the Neptune Beach City Council chambers. We'd like to congratulate Nia Livingston, who was appointed to the Neptune Beach City Council, seat 5. And also congratulations to Nick Howland for who won the Jacksonville City Council at large Group 3 seat. We'd also like to give a shout out to the Fletcher girls soccer state champions. Apparently they are the first from Duval County to achieve this great accomplishment. So congratulations to you. And as I said, our next meeting will be on the legislative update, the recap, and that will be held Wednesday, April 6th at 7 p.m. And again, the speakers will be our beaches city managers. At this point, it will be a virtual meeting that is subject to change. We are considering trying to go back to face-to-face meetings at the beaches library. And if that does happen, we will make sure to get the word out so we can hopefully see everyone's smiling faces. Dean Ledford says, go Senators. Absolutely. Congrats again What an accomplishment. So let's see, anything else? Okay. So I kept the announcements very short because we do have our guests. As I said, we have Elizabeth Andersen, who's our Beaches School Board representative, and Dr. Diana Greene, Superintendent of Duval Schools. And I know they have a lot to share with us tonight. So again, any questions or comments, please use the chat box. If you are tuned in via a laptop or a Surface or tablet, and we will be monitoring that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Andersen and Dr. Diana Greene. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Maria. Hi, Dr. Greene. Dr.
Hello.
Greene is so busy. She is joining us from another event, but thank you so much for making the time to be with District 2 tonight and Beaches Watch. We appreciate it. So I won't belabor this conversation too long because I have a slide deck for you all that I can't wait to show. And so we will jump in. I'm going to share my screen and then get where we need to be. Okay, hopefully you all can see that. Presentation mode. Are we getting better?
It looks
At Zoom.
it's good.
Okay, excellent. Well, I've already introduced myself, Elizabeth Andersen, school board member for District 2. I am grateful to be with you all again for the 4th time, but we were just saying this is the 3rd time we've been together on Zoom, so I can't wait to be together in person. Our superintendent, Dr. Diana Greene, who I always like to brag on, was our Florida State Superintendent of the Year last year. Thank you for being with us as well. I wanted to take a minute to review our strategic plan goals for the district. The strategic plan we approved last year as a board. We went out, we did community meetings. We had some really good, deep conversation about setting these goals for the district based on the vision and values that we heard from our community. And so this is where we landed. I went through this with you all last year, but I'll give you a quick recap and then I'll ask the superintendent to jump in on a couple of places where we're doing some really great work. So goal number 1 is to improve our reading scores to the top quartile in the state of Florida. So we know that literacy is the key to all things, and making sure that our students can read is super important to us. So I'd love for Dr. Greene to share a little about our campaign for grade level reading and the Duval Reads initiative that we've got going on.
Thank you, Ms. Andersen. We are working hand in hand with the Jacksonville Public Ed Foundation and the Kids Hope Alliance to create a community awareness about literacy and the importance of literacy. We know that students who are proficient by 3rd grade tend to matriculate through our system without major issues. Students who are not proficient by 3rd grade have a greater likelihood to have a future retention or not graduate. So it is vitally important that we get that message out, work with our families, and work with our community. As the school district, we are putting new resources into our classrooms to support students during the school day. And now we have a very robust tutoring program, especially for those 3rd graders who are entering 3rd grade below grade level, and we are working to get them up to proficiency. Next year, we will have a new program for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade to also start working with those students to provide support. And one of the great things we're doing is we're actually hiring high school students. So students at Fletcher High School may be participating in this program, being hired to tutor elementary students. So we are utilizing a great resource in our high school students and taking those ESSER federal dollars and putting it back into our community by hiring. Today, I believe we've hired over 400 high school students that are working with elementary students along with a master teacher providing literacy support.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. One of the things I'm so excited about that tutoring program that Read USA is doing for us with our own Ellen Wiss from Atlantic Beach. So thanks to Ellen. I don't think she's with us tonight, but what I'm hearing, the feedback I'm getting is that these kids are getting ignited and they're really interested in the possibility of teaching as a career profession. So, which is wonderful, as we know. So our second goal here is to be recognized as high performing. I am very pleased to share with you all, we have no F schools in Duval County Public Schools any longer. And I think we're sitting at 9, and Dr. Greene can correct me if I'm wrong, we have 9 that are at a D based on our last school grades, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a few slides. But we are hoping to get all of those up to an A, B, or C by 2026, no doubt, probably sooner if I know Dr. Greene. Goal 3 is the goal that I'm particularly excited about. As a board, we were really looking at how do we take our students to the next level? Our graduation rates have improved so much over the last 10, 15 years. But is that enough? Is this what makes them really prepared for life? Is this what really makes them prepared for a career? And so as we were out talking to stakeholders in our business community, we're hearing that kids that are graduating from high school aren't quite ready to be employees, are still struggling sometimes to be college students because they're missing soft skills or essential skills. And so we have challenged the superintendent and the district to work on creating a program that will help implement some social and emotional learning tools to help them get their executive functioning skills up to par so that by the time they graduate high school, they are ready for life and ready for college or ready for a career and whatever faces them after high school. So we haven't decided exactly what this program looks like. I know the district's been working really hard and I can't wait to learn more in the coming months about exactly what that will be. I don't want to cut you off, Dr. Greene, but did you have anything you wanted to share on that I did not?
Other than we will be presenting, again, additional information at a workshop in the month of March. We just had a meeting with our high school principals and got more feedback from them as to what this could look like at the high school level and how we would move forward.
So I can't wait to see what that looks like. And then of course, as soon as we have more information, I'll be the first one out touting it in the community and sharing with you all at Beaches Watch. So our fourth goal here is in our career and technical education space and bringing those programs up to high performing or at least advancing them to the next level. And I did want Dr. Greene to share about our partnership with Tax USA. And I know we talk a lot about public-private partnerships. And this is one of those areas where we're working really closely with industry leaders to make sure that the career technical education program we're offering students is relevant to career opportunities in our community. And we are working together with industry leaders that are ready and excited to create a pipeline.
That is so true, Ms. Andersen. Our partnership with Tax USA is helping us develop national model academies. With their efforts, they are connecting us with corporations who then serve on our advisory committees for our career technical programs. One that I'd like to briefly talk about that we are introducing, that we just introduced, is the JEA Academy. And developing that academy for 2 phases for students who want to go into post-secondary university level for engineering, and then another level for students who want to actually enter into the world of work much sooner. And these are for positions that are entry level, yet will give these students an opportunity to have priority in hiring, as well as continuing their education and supporting them if they choose to want to go up the ladder of JEA.
Thanks, Dr. Greene. we are going to flip over here to our guiding principles for our strategic plan. So when we went out into the community and we were looking for what would these goals be, we were really focused on setting goals that were related to student outcomes, which I just shared with you. But we have challenged the district to achieve all of those student outcomes and maintain these guiding principles at the same time. So these aren't necessarily goals, these are expectations and guardrails that we've set for the district, that this is also a priority for the board and for our community. So I'm gonna go in backwards order than the way you probably see them on your screen. And there's a couple things that I want to share specific that I know the district is doing that I'm particularly excited about. So we'll start with culture and climate. The superintendent has shared with us recently their customer service initiative. They're doing a book study. I think it's like the Disney, something related to Disney. Do you remember? What is the?
Yes, it's the Disney way.
The Disney way. Then I was going to say that, but then I thought maybe I'd get it wrong. But we know that this is absolutely so important, not only for our families and our community that interacts with our public school system, but one of the best pieces of this that the superintendent shared with us is their commitment to ensuring that we are providing high quality customer service internally as well. And this is something that I'm particularly passionate about because I know that the people within Duval County Public Schools, our staff, our teachers, these people are so valuable, and making sure that as a system and as an employee and an employer, that we have positive, healthy communication and that we are providing great customer service, listening and responding within our organization and then also externally with the community. Anything else you wanted to share on that?
No, that's great.
Student supports is assurance number 4, and providing struggling students with the supports they need to be successful. The other piece of this particular item that is a conversation that I love having is superintendent's commitment to making sure that this is happening for all students across the board. There has been a time where we really focused on schools that were struggling and the students in the schools that were struggling. We are very blessed in District 2. We have some pretty high performing schools. We have pretty high performing teachers, but there are still students in our building that struggle. There are still pockets of communities that have great need. And so as we've looked at how do we make sure that we're building the right supports, it's not for struggling schools, but it's really individually looking at students and communities where there is need, even if the school grade is high. And so I'm really grateful to the district and the superintendent for making this a priority, that we are able to get to every student, which is a lot. It's a lot, and this is a lot of pressure and responsibility, but our kids deserve it. And so I am glad that they're moving forward these initiatives. Family and community partnerships. We talked to you about some that we've already got going on with Kids Hope Alliance, Read USA, Jacksonville Public Education Fund, the Chamber, and there's so many community partners that we are bringing in to help meet our goals for the district. And I can't wait to continue to partner with more. Every day, people are coming to us and saying, how can we be involved with Duval County Public Schools and the success that you guys are creating here? So fiscal transparency is, of course, an important one, specifically related to the sales surtax. I'm going to take a second and show you our dashboard. So if you have not had a chance to get over to the halfpenny dashboard, I highly recommend it. You go, let me make sure I can show you where you need to be. You're going to go to Duval County Public Schools website /halfpenny. And then when you scroll down, you'll see this dashboard. And then I'm going to wait for it to populate here. But it is this incredible piece of software through our partnership with Jacobs Engineering that they were able to help provide for us, where you can see up to date. Oh, this is even the sales tax revenue projection and funds received are always changing. And you can see sort of in real time what is happening with the dollars, where they're going, where they're projected to be spent next, and how far along we are in the project. So I highly recommend that people check out this website. I know a lot of people have said, what's going on with the half penny? Go here and take a look at it. You can see the master facilities plan, the original master facilities plan, and check out what's happening with the projects. You can even go by district. So like if you go here, you can click right on board district number 2. I'm not going to go too far into this because I have some slides for you in just a little bit, but you can see exactly what's happening. You can go by school. I mean, you can get into the granular details.
Elizabeth, the dashboard, we can't see that, unfortunately. We're still seeing your slide presentation.
I don't know. Oh, because I'm sharing from the, hang on. Let me get where we need to be, because this is super useful.
Yeah.
Share screen instead of the PowerPoint. Can you see now?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so here is the half penny. Thank you for interjecting there. Here's the half penny website. You're going to go to duvalschools.org/halfpenny. You can search by board district and then by school if you want to, but this software is incredible and it allows you to be able to see everything that's happening with the half penny sales tax. Okay, now I'm going to go back to our presentation and get where we need to be. And then highly effective teachers. DCPS will recruit and retain highly effective educators. We're going to talk about what is going on with recruiting and retaining educators at the end of our presentation. But I bring it up here because it is one of our guiding principles, and we know that we can't take care of kids. We will never have positive student outcomes if we do not have high quality educators in front of those babies. Here's what's going on in District 2 at the beach. So these are all 10 of the beaches schools that are Duval County Public School operated. You can see your elementary, middle, and high schools that are represented here. One of the things I do want to take a minute to talk about while we're looking at these fantastic schools is enrollment. We as a district in my whole district, which would be the beaches and across the intercoastal, all the way up to about Kernan. Enrollment in 2018 was at 15,865-ish students. This year, we are down to about 14,420-ish students. And I think it's important because what I don't want to do is have the community say, well, what's going on? And I think that one of the things that's happening is that students are making a variety of choices. COVID was a difficult time. We have lots of kids that withdrew and decided to homeschool. We have lots of kids that went to our Duval Virtual Instruction Academy. We have lots of kids that have made other choices. We're going to charter schools around the district. We have lots of kids that did not return or moved out of the area. And so when our enrollment drops in our traditional Duval County public schools, then we have to look at utilization. We have to look at, do we have the right number of teachers assigned for a school? Do we need to reduce our resources, for example? And these are always really tough conversations to have with the community, with any school community. I remember when Anchor Academy, for example, went from having a full-time arts teacher to having an itinerant arts teacher where they had to share with someone else. That was really challenging and people were really upset about that. And I only say that because I think it's important for you all to be aware that we are funded based on our enrollment and what I call cheeks and seats. If students are in the building, then we receive an allocation for them. If they are not in our buildings, then we don't have the same revenue to be able to support them. And so at some point in time in the future, we are really going to have to be thoughtful as a community about how we decide where schools go. Charter schools, for example, do not have to share with us, the school board, where they plan to locate, and there are no restrictions on where they locate within the district. When they decide to open a school, they can't be denied based on location. So if a charter school opens up across the street from a high performing school, you know, some people might say, well, if you have the better school, then kids aren't going to go there, families aren't going to go there. But I think people are always interested. People always want to see if it's something new or different or interesting, or, there's going to be some attrition as we continue to saturate the education market. And I think the other piece of the puzzle there is what we used to have is an education system that required 7,000 to 8,000 teachers. But the more and more schools we build and we create inside this system, the more teaching positions there are that we need to fill. And the community may not be able to bear that burden. So I share that with you just to think about, as a taxpayer, where do you want to invest long-term? Because this is going to be a conversation that we have in the future. Here's the schools that we have in District 2. They are phenomenal. I am so proud. They're all A and B rated schools. And I thank you all. I thank the community for supporting these schools, for investing in them, for business partners, for PTAs and PTOs, and parents and families that take the time to work with their kids to make sure that they are high achieving academic performers. So I credit all of you for the outstanding work that's happening in our Duval County Public Schools and the incredible teachers and leaders that we have in our buildings for coming to school every day and taking care of your babies. So
Ms. Andersen,
yes.
I do want to point out that Jax Beach this past year was the highest ranked elementary school in the state of Florida. So Jax Beach continues to either be #1 or #2. And that Fletcher High School was also a part of the Washington Post nationally ranked best high schools in the nation.
Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of in District 2. Always so proud of Jax Beach Elementary School and the outstanding academics that they have as an option for families here in Duval County Public Schools. I did want Dr. Greene, if you don't mind, to take a moment and talk about why we're looking at grades from school year 2018-2019.
We're looking at school grades from 2018-19 because that was the last FSA before the pandemic. The 1920, the state did not give the FSA, it waived the FSA. And then this past year, schools, they could volunteer to opt in for school grades. And so schools such as the schools in District 2, they were already A and B, they didn't need to opt in. They're already high performing. But Jax Beach, just based on its data, was ranked #1 in the state of Florida for FSA last year.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. It has been a very interesting time trying to make sure that your students are getting all of the academics that they need during COVID, and all of the different measurements and assessments and ways that we are monitoring their progress academically. Dr. Greene, did you have any updates you wanted to share related to challenges we're seeing as a result of COVID with academics?
Yes, COVID definitely has impacted even in our high performing schools in the areas, especially of mathematics. We've seen a dip. When you look at District 2, that dip is not nearly as widespread as it is in some of the other schools, but even in District 2, mathematics seems to have been impacted. And when people ask me, well, why do you think that? I mean, why is that? Because the data says math is being impacted. It's because that many times students practice reading. Parents will quickly say, go get a book, and students can practice that activity. But many parents don't say, go practice mathematics. Or, if we weren't, I don't believe we were giving homework as much at that time during the height of COVID for all the things that students were and their families were having to deal with. So we believe that now that most students are back in brick and mortar, we're starting to see math come back, and we're starting to see our data getting closer to where it was pre-pandemic.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. Here is the most recent graduation rate for Fletcher High School at 95.8% graduation. Our graduation rates were also slightly impacted due to adjustments in criteria for graduates over the last couple of years because we have not required those state standardized assessments. So there may be a shift or a dip slightly as we look at graduation rates once those accountability and assessment measures come back into play. But we are always excited. Fletcher always does an amazing job at making sure that our students get what they need and get on with life as graduates. The Florida Best Standards. So several years ago, we know that the Department of Education came in and decided to undertake creating new standards. They developed the Best Standards. We have implemented Best so far, K in grades K and 1. And we will be looking to get the Best Standards rolled out to the rest of, just for ELA. To the rest of the grade levels for ELA. And I think we also start with math. This is definitely the superintendent's piece here. She knows what's going on with the standards, so I will let her share with us anything that you want people to know about the Best Standards, where we are with implementation. And then if you have any input about the new assessment, the state assessments.
Well, the state legislature is still in session and haven't made a final decision as it relates to FAST, which is the new assessment, Florida assessment of student thinking. Right now, we believe there will be 2 interim assessments during the school year and then a final summative assessment at the end of the year. We do not know how the 2 interim assessments connect with the final summative. The Best Standards were introduced this year for grades K through 2. And next year, all grade levels will be required to implement the Best Standards. You can go on our website under academics and see the standards. We list them and really try to make sure that our families know what the new standards are. We will be providing quite a bit of training throughout the summer for our in educators, and so that they will be prepared to support our students this upcoming school year. So this is the last year of FSA.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. I think that a lot of the community I don't want them to be surprised when this comes out next year. It says, well, what's going on? I've been surprised that even educators maybe weren't unaware that the assessments and the accountability system will make a big shift next year. And that is always really challenging when we change standards or when we change assessments. We have to realign all of our curriculum. We have to realign all of our teaching practices to make sure the students are getting everything they need to be successful on these high stakes tests. And so that our teachers can be successful because many times they have bonuses tied to the student performance on these assessments. All right, to the sales tax referendum and the work that's happening. So you all know that it was a long fight to get the sales surtax to the voter. And when we did, overwhelmingly, there was support at 67.32% of the vote. And we are getting money and we are implementing projects. So here's where we are, master facilities plan. Here's 1 through 5 overview for District 2. We've got a total of 25 projects scheduled with a total of over $69 million. Our big flagship project in the first phase here, this 1 to 5 year plan, is a new wing at Fletcher High School. Make sure we're here. So you can see this is what has been going on. Superintendent made a commitment to get safety and security upgrades done first and foremost at all schools across the district. And this is what's been happening. You can see what's been invested at the schools in Duval, in District 2, Duval County Public Schools. And then you can also see here that we've got some big projects coming up. The renovation in the 32 classroom addition for Fletcher High School will begin its planning process in in this year. We'll probably be out to have community meetings and start talking about what that'll look like and what's going to be happening in that addition in 2023. And then you can see down here the demolition and rebuild for Seabreeze Elementary School. The planning will begin in 2023, and we'll get out to the community probably in late 2023 or maybe early 2024. Depends on how we can keep up with the timeline. But this is the goal, and our facilities and operations department have done a phenomenal job coordinating vendors and construction and getting all these projects going, and using your investment wisely back in our school buildings for our kids.
Ms. Anderson, it's important to know that this is only for phase 1, which is 5 years. This is not the plan for the entire 15 years.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just 1 to 5 years. There's 3 phases, but most of the projects, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Greene, we do try to have them wrapped up within the first 10 years because we know that over the next decade, more maintenance will come on board. That we are really just looking at getting rid of the backlog and the maintenance that we've needed to address for a decade before. And so as we get to the end of our 10-year mark, this is sort of a living, breathing process, and we'll see what else is there and what the revenue has generated for us to continue to invest in our public assets, our school buildings. All right, I don't want to use up all of our time. I want the superintendent to have a moment to talk to you about our teacher vacancies and the bold action she has taken in recommending to the school board and our vote last night to support bringing this referendum to the voters for a potential millage increase, which we hope to invest in our teachers and refreshing our arts and athletics programs. So Dr. Greene.
Thank you. I've shared with the board of now 2 workshops and at last night's board meeting the issues that we are facing as a school district, and it's not unique to Duval. This is a national teacher shortage, statewide. It's an issue. Right now we have over 400 teacher vacancies, and people will say, well, you're not hiring teachers? And the answer is yes, we are. But for every 3 teachers we hire, we're probably losing 6 teachers that same day. So we are out recruiting. As a matter of fact, we have a team in Georgia this week recruiting at colleges in Georgia and offering open contracts and offering the teachers an opportunity to come teach in the Sunshine State. But again, what we're seeing is we're losing our veteran teachers. They're making a decision that I'm going to retire early, or I have another opportunity in private industry, or at what is normal for us, or we might lose them to another school district, such as St. John's, Clay, or Nassau, or school districts that are large urban districts that pay more than Duval. In addition, we shared with the board that we needed to beef up what we are doing for our students in the areas of arts and athletics. These 2 categories, we do not receive currently categorical funding to support the arts or athletics. We either have to use our discretionary dollars, or in many cases, it's PTAs and booster clubs doing fundraising to replace instruments or replace equipment that has been utilized and just repaired for many years, and it's beyond repair and it needs to be replaced. As I stated, we've had over 400 vacancies, and it's actually 466. And this has been an issue actually pre-pandemic. This did not just start because of COVID. We've had over 155% of increased vacancies over the past 6 years. And this issue is such a crisis that there's been now national surveys put out for educators asking, why are you leaving? And a lot of it has to do with burnout, having to cover other classes because you can't get enough substitutes. You may have heard in the month of January and February that the district individuals who are certificated at the district level were going out into the schools to sub. I've been out to sub to support our classroom teachers, especially during the time where COVID was impacting our schools at a great extent. So we were averaging about 1,200 vacancies a day, and we needed to send people to support our schools. And so we have definitely gotten better, but still, again, vacancies continue to be an issue. And we've shown our board where it's not just vacancies, it's having highly effective experienced teachers. We have data that shows the more experienced our teachers are, the more effective they are in the classroom by having higher percentages of highly effective teachers based on experience. And when we look at the experience in Duval, we are ranked 58th in the state of Florida for experienced teachers. And so the recommendation to bring this millage to the voters is because there have been 20 other districts in the state that have been successful, and many of them are using it their dollars to support higher compensation for teachers as well as paraprofessionals. I said we had over 400 vacancies. We have close to 380 vacancies for paraprofessionals. Today, we offer a new paraprofessional $15 an hour. That was of the vision of the board to get out in front when the voters approved that the minimum wage in the state of Florida by 2026 would be $15 an hour. Well, private industry has moved beyond $15 an hour. So we're continuing to compete with not only other school districts, but now private industry, and losing employees because of they can get higher pay in these industries. And that it was sort of in a nutshell, why this recommendation was brought to the board to now go to the city council and then ultimately to the voters of our community. You'll see I believe this is the last slide, that we have a timeline. We seem to go back to a slide. You see the pie what a 1 mil would garner for the school district, a little over about $82 million, with the vast majority of that going to teachers and staff, 75%. We are required to give charter schools their proportionate share. So right now that is at 12.5%. And the last piece, the 12.5, would be used for improving the arts and athletic programs in the district. And so the timeline is that last night it was approved. And so by March 16th, that resolution will be sent to the city council to be filed as legislation. The city council, for it to meet the August 23rd primary election, it would have to be completed by April 26th and sent to the supervisor elections. The final information would have to get to the supervisor of elections by June 24th for us to be able to move forward with this ballot on this referendum on the ballot for August 23rd.
Thank you, Dr. Greene. I know that we went a couple minutes over, but I am happy to take questions about whatever.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Dr. Greene, for your presentation and an informative presentation. We do have some questions. I will go to the chat box. Talking about budget, we had one question about the current budget is about $2 billion. And so this viewer wants to know, where is the money going?
So I think that's a great question. Go ahead, Dr. Greene.
Oh, no, that's a wonderful question.
Yep.
As I explained last night, yes, we do have a $2.1 billion budget. It is divided by what we call categorical, which the state tells us what we have to spend those dollars. So a portion of that 2.1 billion, it can only be used for capital. And those are our capital dollars. And it's for maintenance, it's for repairs, it's for painting and all the things that relate to facilities. The other half is operations. Currently, today, we spend about 69% on salary and benefits for our little close to 13,000 employees. The remaining dollars are put into categorical. So we have transportation as a categorical. Today, we get about $24 million in transportation. However, the cost of transportation is about $60 million. So even though that's a categorical and they give us 24 million, we have to go in discretionary to offset that gap. We get a class size reduction. We're required by law to have our classes average a certain number, pre-K to 3, 1 to 18, 4 through 8, 1 to 22, high school, 1 to 25. Those dollars can only be spent on making sure we meet that class size. So that pretty much is based on positions, paying for salaries and benefits. We have a reading categorical. We have categorical for how we spend for students who struggle. It's called SAI. So pretty much our dollars are sort of earmarked and we're told these are the things you can spend those dollars on. Where does teacher salaries come from? If we want to increase or improve, it only comes from discretionary. Well, the governor did move forward to improve beginning teacher salaries, and wonderful. 2 years ago, the beginning teacher made $39,500. Today, a beginning teacher makes $47,500. The problem is it compressed the salary schedule. So a brand new teacher who steps in our classroom today is making the same amount of money that a 17-year veteran is making. So that 17-year veteran might make maybe $600 more than a teacher who just stepped out of college and is now teaching in our classroom. And that is where we are having a major problem, in that the salary schedule has been compressed, and teachers who have, where I just talked about experience matters, is making almost the same thing as a brand new novice teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also share really quickly too, one of the things I think is really important in this conversation, and Dr. Greene had a great slide in her presentation that she shared with the community last night, is the millage, what you see on your tax bill. And everyone says, well, you know, our property values have been going up. You should be getting more millage. Well, the legislature rolls back that millage. So really, we are getting less than we got over a decade ago. So if that millage, if we had really been able to actualize the increase in property values that you all are experiencing as tax revenue to our district, there's a discrepancy of over $650 million. Mm-hmm. So when you think about what that could have done to help us, you know, over the last 10 years, be able to invest in our educators and our teachers and the other staff members that work on Team Duval, that's what we're trying to create some equity for. And you can see 20 other school districts across the state are having the exact same issue. They've gone to their voter and told this exact same story. So one of the things that I'm really excited about when it comes to this millage is having these conversations with the community. I'm not raising your taxes. Dr. Greene's not raising your taxes. But what we do need to do is at least talk about the state of our schools, talk about this crisis that we're having with the teacher shortage, and you guys get the information, you make a decision that works for you and your household and your family budget, and then vote.
So have you, or has the school district at least done like salary surveys or worked with a company or companies that can tell you like where, because of that salary compression that has occurred, where the veteran teachers really should be as far as on the pay scale versus, you know, where the entry level teachers should come in. So when if 1 mil is passed, the veteran teachers will, their salaries will get bumped accordingly, or how is that going to, what's that calculation look like? Do you know yet?
Dr. Greene can
Ms.
probably answer this
Andersen,
better than I
I will.
can. Okay.
Yeah,
I know that we do bargaining and supplements, and there's so many pieces of that puzzle. So
Yes, so it is important to note that even if this 1 mil is successful, it is for 4 years. We would have to go back to the voters every 4 years for this 1 mil referendum. So it's not like the half-cent sales tax that is for 15 years. But we do have to we would have to work with the union because it deals with salaries to negotiate that. And the goal would be, if Miss Brady was here, who's the president of the teacher union, I believe she would agree with me, is that we make this a fair salary schedule. However, because it is a local tax and it's only guaranteed for 4 years, we would be saying it would be a supplement. And supplements are a part of a teacher's retirement, but if the money is not there, supplements can go away.
So you had talked about earlier is about, you know, schools get funded based on enrollment size. And due to just all of our circumstances, the enrollment has decreased. How do you guys anticipate the increase in enrollment, or are you able to, as far as percentages or numbers, moving forward?
So I think that was a big part of the master facilities plan whole conversation. We knew that not only did we have a backlog in maintenance, but we also had an enrollment projection study that helped guide what those plans needed to look like. If you look at the district on the whole for that master facilities plan, not just District 2, you'll see there's a lot of school closures, a lot of consolidations. It's really a right sizing of the district, and this will continue to happen. The superintendent has agreed with the board that we need to do enrollment projections more frequently. We've just done one. And so we are adjusting these plans and suggesting new scenarios you know, regularly to make sure that we are being responsible to the taxpayer with their money. I will share with you 2 scenarios that came up this time as we had our conversation about enrollment projection. Was the possibility of consolidating Anchor Academy and Mayport Elementary, the possibility of consolidating Seabreeze Elementary and San Pablo Elementary. And if that concerns you all, which it did concern me, and I thought to myself, whoa, we can't do that to our beaches communities. This is why I think it's important to share with you. You know, as enrollment continues to drop, we have to make really tough decisions. And if you want to see your local small neighborhood gem of a school thrive, then we need to make sure that we are investing in those schools, that we are choosing these schools, because that's how a public service works.
Okay. I'm just going to go to the chat box because it looks like we do have some.
Yeah, I see a question on auditing, and I would love to address that really quickly, if you don't mind, while you just kind of scroll through. We are audited every year. So on the years, I think it's every 3 years, the Auditor General from the state comes in and audits the district. And on the years when the Auditor General from the state is not here, we are contracted with an external auditing firm that comes in and performs an audit. So that contractor, that company this year is called MSL, that's their name. They've just finalized their audit. They're actually about to present to the board. We have also just stood up a new audit committee. So we looked at governing practices around the state, and we are each appointing audit professionals to come in and sit on an audit committee to help support the auditing process for our district. And that should get launched, I think. I mean, I just submitted my recommendation for Julia Han out of the University of North Florida. So hopefully she'll be joining as my appointee, barring any conflicts of interest. But those folks will also be sitting to help make sure that we are keeping close eye on tax dollars and our budget and every aspect of our budget. But we are constantly audited. We are audited every year. We have an internal board auditor that works for the board. The superintendent and the district have internal auditors. So there is a lot of auditing happening always.
Question regarding safety precautions. When your ability to require safety precautions in the classrooms, such as masking of students, was taken away by the state from our school system, what was the effect on attendance of students and vacancies of teachers and staff, and the ability to hire highly effective teachers and staff?
I will answer that. I don't want to say masking is what contributed to attendance, but we were hit with Omicron COVID-19 variant, and that really put a strain on the school district. That was when in January and February, and that's why we, people who worked at the district office left their primary job and went out in schools and substituted and provided support. We are seeing the attendance to start back to close to what we call normal, and students are coming, and we're not seeing the impact that we did in the months of January and February.
Okay. Another question, has the school district received any federal funds to use for COVID changes at the schools?
Yes, the school district received ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. We are waiting on the Department of Education to see when we will receive ESSER 3, but anything related, COVID related, we use those federal dollars to pay for it. If we're providing more like hand sanitizer, making sure our schools are clean. We use MERV 13 filters now in all of our schools. And so we're using federal dollars to pay for anything COVID related.
A viewer wants to know, does the school system own schools and land that can be sold, producing monies for other things, maybe to become parks? And I'm assuming if you are thinking of consolidating certain schools, you know, what would happen to those schools that
I can answer that question if you want, Dr. Greene. I know that you are joining us from another event, and if you need to dash, you're welcome to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for your questions. And thank you, Ms. Andersen.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
appreciate
Greene.
it.
And congratulations on being selected as superintendent of the state of Florida, or
That's right, last year.
last year. Yes, congratulations. And thank you for doing for our. Okay.
Thank you.
So yes, the short answer to do we own our schools, we own our property. These are taxpayer owned, right? We all own it. And so when the schools and property is sold, then we do have some options. Well, what has happened in the past is when we've sold these buildings to private investors, the reality of what it takes to refurbish these buildings has not happened. So you will see if you go to other areas across Duval County, you'll say, oh, what is that school? I never knew what that school was. That's a school that was sold to a private investor that is now just sitting vacant. There are several of them across the district. So when we built into the master facilities plan, everything that is to be closed, the plan is to demolish unless we get a real credible and viable investor that wants to come in. So I've got two examples where that has happened. Brentwood, in the Brentwood community, they're going to turn that into a library. The city of Jacksonville has come forward, and that's a real viable partnership. And they're really excited about being able to reinvest that in the community. And then Lakewood, Lake Forest, I can't remember exactly, not in our area, of course. They're working with Ability Housing and the potential for making that affordable housing for that community. So there is potential there, but we are being really strict as a board and entering these contracts, because what we don't want to do is have private partners come to us, take these buildings off of our hand and then create blight in communities. And it's surprising when you look at how much these buildings are actually worth. Remember, part of the reason we're closing them is because they have not, they need a lot of updated maintenance. They need new air handling, they need new roofs. So, it's not worth as much as you might think it would be worth.
Right. Just because they're of the condition that they're in and what they would need to be done.
To be renovated, the market value, right? When you think about the cost of having to renovate these, especially in this market, and we're feeling it too with the renovations we're doing, it's expensive. And so people aren't going to pay a lot of money and then sink millions and millions of dollars into it.
Well, we are at 8 o'clock, so I like to try and finish on time to respect everyone's time. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. As always, it's so informative, and you really, and Dr. Greene really kind of give us that insight of what's going on with our schools, our students, our teachers. I call you guys our frontline workers as well. So we appreciate it very much. If I didn't get to your question, Elizabeth is always available via email, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer anything directly to you. And so thank you again for joining us, and maybe next year we'll be face-to-face. Okay, so we do have a short survey. If you don't mind just taking a few minutes to fill that out afterwards. And again, you can watch our recorded meeting on our YouTube channel, Beaches Watch 2012. Follow us on Facebook, Beaches Watch, and also visit our website for links to the video as well as our other meetings on beacheswatch.com. And remember to join us next month, April. We'll have that legislative update to see what happened, what didn't happen, what should have happened, what could have happened. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.